Roberts. Let's go back in. Kerry Roberts, victim friend on the stand.
Is it March 7th, 2023?
Does that refresh your recollection?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Your Honor. You indicated that you did recognize Sergeant Lank at the scene.
Yes, I did.
You had a conversation with him.
No. I said, Mike, is that you? He said yes, and that was it.
All right. Following that, the next day, you did go to his house. You've already described that.
I did.
You indicated that you went to his house to drop off your daughter for a play date. Is that right?
Yes.
But you also indicated that you took Jennifer McCabe with you.
Yes, because I drove Jen McCabe to the O'Keefe's house, so she was leaving to go home with me. So I was going to drop her off.
Okay, so your memory is you took Miss McCabe from where over to the Lanks house?
I think she was at home.
So you picked her up?
Yes.
At her house?
Yes.
With anybody else?
With my daughter, my son. I picked up her and either one or two of her daughters, I don't remember.
And then you drove over to the Lanks house, is that right?
No, I drove to the O'Keefe's house.
First?
Yes.
And what did you do with the O'Keefe's
Then
house?
left a couple of kids, and my daughter wanted to go to the Lanks house, so I drove my daughter to the Lanks house before driving home.
And Jen's child was with you on the way from Jen's house over to the O'Keefe's house?
Yes, one or two daughters, I don't know.
Dropped the one or two kids off at the O'Keefe's, is that right?
As well as my son.
As well as your son. Then you went to drop off your daughter for the play date.
Well, she was 13, so it wasn't a play date.
Whatever, I don't know what you call it.
I know.
I don't have a 13-year-old. What a date, whatever it is.
So she went over to her friend's house, yes.
Okay. But you took Jennifer McCabe with you?
Yes, because I was driving her home.
Back to her house without her kids?
Yes, she was going home.
Were you going to go back to the O'Keefe's and pick up her kids and then take all of them home?
I didn't have a plan. I mean, Patrick,
Okay.
nephew, is my son's best friend.
Got it.
So he wanted to be with him.
Okay. Did you, I think you just answered this, but I want to make sure I'm clear about it. You didn't take separate cars. You all went in the same car, is that right?
Correct.
Okay. Did anybody stop by or go by 34 Fairview during that roundabout?
No.
Nobody stopped off at 34 Fairview either on the way or on the way back?
No.
Okay.
I don't believe so. That wouldn't be the route in which to get to my house.
Right, exactly. You indicated that you stayed, even though you were dropping off your daughter, y'all stayed, you and Miss McCabe stayed at Sergeant Lank's house for some 45 minutes. Does that sound about right?
Yeah.
And Sergeant Lank's wife, you indicated, was in the back seat of your car?
Yes.
Did y'all ever go inside the house?
Jen went in to go to the bathroom.
Was Sergeant Lank there?
I don't know. I didn't go in.
You didn't have any communications with Sergeant Lank?
I'm sorry?
You didn't have any communications with Sergeant Lank himself, Mike Lank, on that trip?
No, I did not.
But you don't know whether or not Jen did?
I don't know whether or not Jen did. She went in the house to go to the bathroom.
Okay. You've indicated that there have been occurrences in which Jennifer McCabe has asked you to contact the DA's office on her behalf to ask a question here or there, get some information, correct?
To Steve Nelson, yes.
Okay. How many times, just a number of times, the volume, would you say that Ms. McCabe has asked you to reach out to the DA's office in one particular or another on her behalf?
I don't think very many.
What does that mean? Of the 50 times that you've had
No,
communications?
maybe like 4, not many, to my knowledge.
When you would, on these 4 occasions or 4 or so occasions, when you would reach out to the DA's office, gather information, whatever that information may be, would you then report that information back to Ms. McCabe?
Yes.
Okay. You obviously understand the importance of providing statements to law enforcement that are free of influence of other people, other witnesses. Is that right?
Say it again?
You understand the importance of providing information to law enforcement as a witness to law enforcement free of influence from other people.
Yeah.
In other words, you want to be as accurate and as independent as possible.
Yes.
And that's because if your statement is somehow, or if your communications with law enforcement are somehow influenced by others, it might call into question the credibility of the person providing the statement. Objection.
Can you answer that question, Ms. Roberts?
No.
Okay, next question.
Sure. A statement that's been colored by influence from someone else would lack credibility, right? Objection.
Sustained.
I want to talk about the statements in the prior testimony that you have provided in this case, Ms. Roberts. There's been several of them. The first time you told your story to law enforcement was on January 29th. We've already established that, correct?
Say that again?
It was on January 29th, the first time you relayed your story to law enforcement.
Yes.
And that was to Trooper Dunn and Trooper DeChico. That's the name I couldn't remember.
I don't remember.
But you do remember Trooper Dunn?
I remember 2 troopers. I don't know their name.
Okay. Where did that interview take place?
In my dining room.
And who was with you when you gave that interview, if anybody?
My husband was home. I think my daughter was home at that point. My husband was home. I don't know if the kids were home.
Nobody else from outside the family?
No.
Okay. Who contacted you about doing that interview? How did they know to come to you at your home?
I don't remember. They may have just shown up. I don't remember.
Okay. Do you remember what time the interview was?
Maybe around dinner time, maybe around 5, 6.
Was it recorded?
I'm sorry?
Was it recorded in any way? Tape recorder running?
I don't think so.
The troopers were taking notes, obviously?
I believe so.
During your conversation with, and I'm jumping around a bit, so I apologize. During your conversation or conversations with Mr. Brennan and the members of the DA's office in preparation for your testimony, were any of those interviews recorded?
No.
Was anybody taking notes?
No.
None of the DAs were actually taking notes, the ADAs?
I didn't look around the table to see if anyone was taking notes, but I did.
The defense is spending a lot of time digging into what she did to prepare for this testimony today and who she talked to when she first was interviewed. Let's get in a break. We'll get you back in. We're hitting the pause button. You won't miss a moment. The Karen Reed murder retrial happening in Massachusetts.
Welcome back, along with Julia Janae. I'm Ted Rollins. We're heading back to Dedham, Massachusetts. Day 2 of the retrial for Karen Reed. She's, of course, charged with second-degree murder in the death of her Boston police officer boyfriend, John O'Keefe.
And we are listening to testimony now from a friend who was there when Karen Reed found John O'Keefe's body. The cross-examination of Kerry Roberts is going on right now. Let's pick it up right where we left off.
Pads and pens on the table?
There was a lot of stuff on the table, but I didn't see anybody taking notes.
Okay. You received a phone call just before that interview started at 5:25 p.m., correct?
Around 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock. Is this the night of the 29th, you mean?
This is the night of, I'm jumping back to the night of the 29th.
Yeah, I'm not following you very well.
That's okay. On the 29th,
Yeah.
when you were interviewed around 5:25 p.m., maybe just a little bit before that,
Yeah.
you received a phone call just before that, correct?
I do not know.
Isn't it true that Jen McCabe called you and spoke to you just before that?
I spoke to Jen McCabe the entire day.
Okay. Including just before that interview?
I don't know.
Did you tell Jen McCabe that you were about to be interviewed?
No.
Did you tell her at some point did you text her and tell her that the officers had arrived?
I don't think so.
Did she text you back and say, call me right after?
I don't know.
Okay. During the course of that interview, when the incident was still pretty fresh in your mind, you indicated that At about 5 a.m., you got a call from Karen Reed indicating that John never came home and that she was worried, correct?
Correct.
You also indicated that she was worried that John may be walking and may have gotten hit by a plow. You relayed that to the officers?
Yes.
You indicated that you met up with Karen Reed and Jennifer McCabe at Jennifer McCabe's house, and Karen was hysterical and worried that something had happened to John.
Yes.
You also indicated that once you were at 34 Fairview, once y'all had made your way over to 34 Fairview, Karen saw John and ran to him, although you and Jennifer didn't see him initially, correct?
That's correct.
You said that Karen was repeating the phrase, "Is he dead? Is he dead?" over and over. Is that right?
That is correct.
You also indicated that she said that if anything happened to John, she'd kill herself, correct?
That's what she said to me.
Object.
So the objection sustained.
Did you indicate at any time, I'm sorry, let me ask a different way. Did either of the troopers indicate to you after your initial interview that if there was anything further that you could recall that would be useful, please provide it? Please give it to at that time.
I don't know.
Okay. Would it refresh your recollection to look at that January 29th report?
Sure.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Showing the second page of that report, January 29th. And there, I put a little mark by paragraph 5. You could take a look at that.
Okay.
May I?
Yes.
During this interview with Trooper Dunn and Trooper DeChico, they indicated after you gave your statement that if you wish to provide anything additional, now is the time to do it. Objection.
Sustained.
Were you informed that you were limited on time in that interview? Meaning, we got to get this done, we're leaving, we're out of time.
No.
They didn't cut you off, correct?
No.
They didn't tell you that they had a limited amount of information that they wanted and then they were just going to leave, correct?
I don't remember. I don't recall.
As a matter of fact, they told you that anything you wanted to provide to them, provide it. Give them as much detail as you could, correct?
I don't recall.
Okay. You just read the last statement that these troopers indicated, correct? If there's anything further she could recall that would be useful, please provide that information. Object.
Sustained.
Your Honor, may we approach?
Yes.
All right, sidebar. Alan Jackson wants a word with Judge Cannoni and Hank Brennan, Cannon Kearney, watching along with us as this. You're shaking your head. What are you thinking here as we watch this cross?
Ted and Julia, it feels like we're talking about Mayberry instead of a small place right outside of Boston. I mean, at this point, the bias that is being shown is ridiculous. Like, how is it that the witness comes to the scene, the officers get there, she's speaking to the investigating officer by first name. Then she testifies on the very next day she goes to his house and she stays there for approximately an hour when one of the other witnesses who will be testifying for the prosecution gets out, goes in the house, and she has no idea what's being said between herself and the officer. Without even going into any more testimony, at this point, it's clear that this investigation was super flawed, super biased, or it comes with the appearance that it's super biased. So it's no way that a regular person like the jurors that are in this courtroom can hear this just as we're hearing it here on Court TV and not be shaking their head saying, wow, they couldn't have thought of anybody else to go investigate. They couldn't have she couldn't have spoken to anybody else. So these are the things that drop the nuggets of reasonable doubt into all of the jurors' minds.
Okay, and you say it's clear already, and we're only a handful of witnesses into the Commonwealth's case. Let's get to a break, but we will come back and go back in for more of that cross-examination of Kerry Roberts on the stand in the Karen Reed murder retrial happening in Norfolk County, Massachusetts.
No, you're dodging the question, David. You're dodging the question.
I'm not here to be interviewed. You've agreed to be interviewed. You told police you shot him twice in the head. It sounds like you lost control of yourself.
Not at all. No, not at all. I could have killed everybody in that building, and I didn't.
You think you should get some kind of credit for not killing people?
Interview with a Killer. New episode, Sunday at 8 on Court TV.
I'm Matt Johnson in Dedham, Massachusetts, covering the Karen Reed murder retrial. This is Court TV, your front row seat to justice.
Welcome back. Our cameras are there live in Dedham, Massachusetts this afternoon. It's day 2 in the murder retrial for defendant Karen Reed. She faces multiple charges, including second-degree murder in the death of her boyfriend, John O'Keefe, who was also a Boston police officer.
The first trial ended in a mistrial, no unanimous jury verdict. Let's go back into the courtroom now for more cross-examination of Kerry Roberts.
May I?
Yes.
Thank you. Having looked at the report...
No, bring it to her and show it to her again.
She's just, it's the same thing that I just showed her. Having looked at the report, does that refresh your recollection about what Trooper Dunn and DeChico told you at the end of the interview?
I don't recall. It's not refreshing. I'm not remembering it. Even reading it, I'm not remembering it.
I see. Okay, fair enough. So as you sit here, the details about what you told or what those two officers told you are not fresh in your mind, and nothing's refreshing your recollection about that.
Right.
Okay, but you do remember the basics of what I just described in that conversation with those two troopers.
I mean, they asked me what happened. I told them, but I was also in shock.
You never said during the course of that interview that my client called you at 5 o'clock in the morning just hours earlier and said he's dead and then hung up, correct?
No, I don't believe I said it at that point. I did not remember that until a couple of days later.
I see. And in fact, when you were asked about that particular statement, when you were asked about that particular series of events, that never came to your mind?
No.
That literally the first words out of Karen Reed's mouth, according to you now, is he's dead and then hung up.
Correct.
When you heard that, you didn't take that to mean that she killed him.
No.
Of course not. She was panicked, correct?
Yes.
You did add that, one other thing that you didn't add in your initial statement to Trooper Dunn and Trooper DeChico is anything about the taillight either, correct?
Not.
Okay. And you also didn't say anything about any sort of a Google search or the praying that you talked about in the back of the patrol car, anything like that?
No.
Okay.
I don't know. I don't remember.
The second time you were interviewed, that was the February 1st interview. That was with Kathleen Prince and Connor Keefe, correct? And you just looked at that report, at least part of that report. Is that right?
Say it again?
Connor Keefe and Kathleen Prince, that was on February 1st, 3 days after your initial statement, correct?
I don't remember the date, but I remember meeting with them.
Okay. I want to make sure I get the dates down, so I'm sorry to belabor this, but... May I approach?
Yes.
Would it refresh your recollection if you were to look at the report of that interview?
It might.
Okay. First paragraph.
Thanks. Am I reading the whole thing or just the part where you dotted?
Just if it refreshes your recollection of the dates.
Oh, for the date, yes.
May I approach?
Yes.
What date was it that you met with me?
February 1st.
That second interview was conducted at 12 Country Lane, correct?
Yes.
And who again lives at 12 Country Lane?
Jennifer McCabe.
So the second time you told your memory, your story to law enforcement, you were literally sitting in Jennifer McCabe's house.
Yes.
And you had met with Jennifer McCabe before your interview, correct?
Yes. We were putting a timeline together.
So you two were actually prepping, if that's a valid term, prepping for your interview, putting a timeline together, correct?
We were putting a timeline together at the request of Mrs. O'Keefe.
And Jennifer McCabe, was helping you with the timeline, and you were helping her with the timeline.
Yes, we were putting together the events of what had happened.
So she was helping you, and you were helping her, yes or no?
Yes.
Okay. So both of you were assisting in each other's memories, correct?
Yes.
I remember this, and you remember this, and okay, now I remember this, correct?
Yep.
Obviously, that would help influence your memory, going over the event with someone else, correct?
Yep.
So what's on that timeline, you would agree, is not completely independent, your memory. It's a combination of your memory and Jennifer McCabe's memory. Isn't that right?
Yes.
May I have just a moment, Your Honor?
Yes.
Okay, a little delay there in the cross. It's not over. Ken Kearney, again, it continues, and are they taking too much time? This case is not going to be won or lost with Kerry Roberts.
Well, Ted, I'll say this. This is someone that did not get on the witness stand in the previous trial. And Ms. Reed
yeah, she was on the stand.
She wasn't cross-examined. So this is now an opportunity for the defense to examine her. And as Ms. Reed indicated, they don't want a rerun. They want something completely different. And what she's giving is something different. Also, I'd like to highlight that omissions are just as important as the actual statements. And here the defense is hammering in all of the different times that this witness omitted very, very key details, such as the tail light, such as the phone call from Mrs. Reed. So all of these different things are setting up now to have the witness look as if she is inconsistent in her statement, and therefore that can get reasonable doubt in the mind of the jurors.
I can't wait to hear from our Matt Johnson, who's there inside the courtroom, on perhaps what jurors are taking notes on more, because that could indicate, hey, what part of this testimony is really standing out to them. Let's go back in. That cross-examination is picking back up.
So the two of you drew out some sort of a timeline for you to follow during the course of that interview. Is that right?
For me to follow what?
During the course of that February 1st interview, as you were interviewed in Ms. McCabe's house. I mean, that was the purpose of the timeline, to help you with that interview?
No, that wasn't the purpose of the timeline.
You used it for that purpose, though, obviously.
We did not. I was at Jen's house making a timeline, and the two officers showed up to interview her. I just happened to be there.
Right, and when they interviewed you, did you have that timeline in front of you? That's my question.
No, I did not.
Okay, but you had just created it along with Jennifer McCabe.
Some of it.
Okay. And then it was after that that this timeline was coordinated between the two of you, that you actually told your second story to Trooper Prince. And when I say second story, I mean as the second time you were interviewed on February 1st as opposed to January 29th. Is that right?
Yes.
Did you ever become aware of text messages that Jennifer McCabe was sending to others in a group chat talking about you in that interview?
No.
You were never told or became aware that she sent text messages to a group as she listened in on your interview?
No, I don't think she could listen in. She wasn't anywhere near me.
You weren't aware that or are you aware as you sit here that she sent a text message that said she's telling them everything, all the stuff?
Sustained.
Have you ever been provided a text message or told about a text message that perhaps Jennifer McCabe was sending to a group?
No.
Listening to your suggesting that she was listening to your interview?
No.
The third time you told your story was later that night in a telephonic interview. Is that right? With Trooper Proctor?
I requested to speak to Trooper Proctor because I had remembered the very first time I spoke with Karen that morning, and I wanted to make sure it was recorded.
Okay, that wasn't my question. My question was, did you have another telephonic conversation with Trooper Proctor, yes or no?
You said that night, but it wasn't that night.
When was it?
I think it was earlier that day.
Okay. Meaning, but it was after the interview with Trooper Prince.
I don't think so.
I think it was beforehand?
I think it was beforehand.
You were still with Jennifer McCabe when that call took place, correct?
I was in her house. I was not with her. I stepped away to speak to him by myself.
In her home at 12 Country Lane?
Correct.
Who else was with you other than Jennifer McCabe in the house?
Her sister was there writing down the timeline for
Who's
us.
that?
Her sister, Denise.
Denise? So she was scribing the timeline as you and Jennifer McCabe were creating
She
it?
was writing it down as we were remembering things.
Right.
We've reached the top of the hour. We're hitting the pause button. It's day 2 of trial, and we're only up to the second witness for the prosecution. More of Kerry Roberts on the stand after this. Stay with us. Welcome back to Court TV Live. I'm Julia Janae, along with Ted Rollins. Thank you for following along with us. Here's a look at what our Court TV cameras are monitoring today. We're in Massachusetts, bringing you the testimony in the murder retrial for Karen Reed. She's facing up to life in prison for the death of her Boston police officer boyfriend, John O'Keefe. We'll get you back into that courtroom in just a second. In Colorado, closing arguments are set for tomorrow in the murder trial for Joseph Koenig. The defense rested this morning, and the state recalled her as a rebuttal witness, one of the co-defendants, and then the state rested. So we'll be getting to deliberation soon. Koenig is accused of throwing rocks on oncoming cars in April of 2023.
In Florida, it is day 3 of jury selection in the Xbox murders resentencing case for convicted killers Troy Victorino and Jerron Hunter. They're being resentenced because the death penalty laws have changed in the state of Florida. Also there in Florida, hearing getting underway next hour in the Stephen Stearns case. He's charged with first-degree murder in the death of 13-year-old Madeline Soto. We'll watch that. We'll monitor all of this stuff for you. But where are we going? Back to Massachusetts. More Karen Reed retrial. Let's pick it up right where we left off. Kerry Roberts being cross-examined by Alan Jackson.
The three of you were doing this together, sort of communally.
Yes.
She would say something, then you would say something, then it would spark something that she would say, and back and forth, correct?
Yes.
How is it that Trooper Proctor got a hold of you? Did you call him or did he call you?
I think he was on the phone with Jen, and I asked to speak to him.
So Trooper Proctor got a hold of you through talking to Jen McCabe.
Well, I asked to speak to him, but yes.
Right. Was that interview recorded, to your knowledge?
I don't know.
The fourth time you met with police was February 2nd, the very next day, at about 12:08 p.m. Is that right?
I don't remember.
Do you remember signing a consent form for your phone?
Yes.
Was that the next day after this interview with Trooper Prince and Trooper
I don't know
Keith?
what day it was. It was right after Karen was arraigned for the first time. Jen and I met with them and both handed our phones over willingly.
So you've just answered my question. So when you met with police, whatever the date was, it was a few days later, you met with police. You had a fourth time, you were still in the presence of Jennifer McCabe when you met with police.
Yes.
And handed your phone over, is that right?
Yes.
And she handed her phone over, is that right?
Yes.
And the two of you were together when you signed your consent forms, is that right?
Yes.
The fifth time you told your story was in front of a grand jury, is that right?
I don't know.
Do you remember testifying in front of a grand jury?
I do.
Okay, let's talk about that for a second. Before you testified at that grand jury, just physically, you were brought into an anteroom where you waited to be called by ADA Adam Lally, correct?
Yes.
Who was in that anteroom with you just before you gave your testimony?
My husband and Jen and Matt McCabe.
So Jennifer McCabe was with you yet again just before you gave
Yep.
official testimony under oath concerning this case and concerning the incident.
Correct.
Ms. Roberts, when was the last time you spoken to Jennifer McCabe before you testified in this trial?
This morning.
Did you discuss your testimony?
No.
So you and Ms. McCabe, who became friends because
Correct.
of this incident,
Correct.
talked as recently as this morning before your testimony.
Correct.
And your testimony now is that you did not discuss anything about what you're doing here
No.
or what you're going
I
to
did
testify
not. She
to.
called to wish me good luck today.
When did you talk to her the last time before this morning?
I don't know, maybe a couple days ago? I don't remember.
Within days of you taking the stand yesterday, correct?
Yes.
Did you ever... May I have this one here?
Yes.
Ms. Roberts, I'm going to ask you... to take a look at... Actually, let me ask it a different way. Did you say that you did or did not recall texting with Jen McCabe during the course of that January 29th interview with state police? Do you recall that or no?
No.
Okay.
During the interview, I didn't text anybody.
Okay. Are you saying you didn't text anybody or you don't recall?
I don't recall. I don't think I had I wouldn't be texting somebody if I was being interviewed by the state police.
Right. Okay. Would it refresh your recollection to take a look at a report of text messages?
Sure.
May I approach you?
Yes.
Thank you. So, may I, Your Honor?
Yes.
Take a look. There's two tabs. Take a look at the tabs and the data across the two tabs, if you don't mind.
Okay.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm in a rush. So, may I take this back? Take this. Sports relations,
Okay. Jurors, feel free to stand up and stretch if you'd like. And I forgot to tell you, anytime we're at sidebar, please feel free to stand up and stretch, okay?
That was quicker than we thought, Judge. May I proceed?
Yes.
Okay. Did you take a look at this document?
Yes.
Does that refresh your recollection that there were two text messages at around the time of your interview with those two troopers?
No.
Do you recall, as you sit here, texting Ms. McCabe that the state troopers were arriving or they're just getting there?
No.
Do you recall Ms. McCabe texting you anything back about calling me after?
No.
Okay. Did you, in fact, different question, did you, in fact, call Ms. McCabe right after the interview and talk to her?
I don't know.
Have you ever testified that at the scene, Miss Reed was seated in the back of a patrol car along with Jennifer McCabe, and you were standing just outside the car, and there was an interaction among the three of you.
Yes.
Have you ever testified, or have you ever stated in any particular, that during that interaction, Karen asked the three of you to pray?
Yes.
Have you ever said or testified that during that interaction where you're seated, where they're seated in the back of the patrol car, and Ms. Reed asked you to pray, that Ms. Reed said to Jennifer McCabe, Google hypothermia?
No.
You've never said that?
I've never said that.
You testified at the grand jury on April 26th, is that right? April 26th, 2022?
I do not know.
Right? Does that sound right? April 26th, 2022?
I have no idea.
Late April 2022, does that sound right?
I don't know. It was 2022.
You testified under oath, correct?
Yes.
Swore the same oath that you swore here.
Yes.
Tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, under penalty of perjury. Is that right?
Yeah.
That's what I needed. Is it your testimony that you have never said that Karen told Jen to Google hypothermia, or that you don't recall saying that?
I don't recall saying that.
Would it refresh your recollection to look at portion of your grand jury testimony from that day?
It might.
May I approach?
Yes.
While they're getting together that document in Kerry Roberts' testimony there on the stand, let's cut into that because we are standing by, not real time inside of this courtroom, but here's someone who is outside of the courtroom real time, our Court TV crime and justice correspondent Matt Johnson with us. Matt, thanks for joining us. I know they're on a break there inside the courtroom in real time. Tell us what stood out for you in testimony today.
Julia, Ted, nice to see you both. So this is really a key witness and number 2 for the Commonwealth here in Massachusetts. Right out the gate, this is a witness that was with defendant Karen Reed along with Jen McCabe when they discovered her friend John O'Keefe at 34 Fairview in 2022. Her testimony early on really became emotional as she focused on the life-saving measures for her friend John O'Keefe, who lay dying there. And then it took another turn when the state was really focusing on her testimony and the key element of the statements made by this defendant. Take a listen to this.
When the EMTs were around and they were working on the body, she was running around and saying, "Did I hit him? Did I hit him? Is he dead? Is he dead?"
Quote, we pulled into it's a driveway, there's 2 cars, and then 2 cars, and then a single, so John's car is there. Karen pulls in, and I pull in behind her. When we get out, and Karen is now showing us the back of the back of the car, saying, my taillight, do you think I hit him? Do you think I hit him? Oh my God, do you guys think I hit him? That was your testimony at the time, correct?
Yes.
In your very first conversation with those 2 troopers on January 29th, you didn't mention anything about a taillight or a cracked taillight, or
No,
even
I did
having
not.
seen a cracked taillight, did you?
No, I did not.
Okay.
I
You
didn't
then-
want to accuse anybody of anything.